Alright, 2 boxes today. Sorry right now about the update being late. That's because the DVDs, the 3 DVDs I was expecting yesterday, got delivered right around the same time that the person with the key to the mailbox left to go home. And that was also the time that all the meetings were finished and my boss was able to talk to me about some important work matters, which I'm not going to bore y'all with, but in a nutshell, it basically meant, even though I was watching the shipping like a hound, I wasn't able to get it yesterday. That's why the Mario Kart videos got uploaded, because I got home, my guest for the week was not going to be coming, and I couldn't do even a small DVD update, so I'm not sure if I should really do the videos talking about delayed updates. So I didn't bother y'all with those details. See here, this one's probably more important because this is actually something I bought from eBay. But let's cover these first. We got the DVD and the Blu-ray versions of Flowers of Evil. Region A, Japanese with English subtitles. So this one is not dubbed. Let's start opening things here, like so. But yeah, and because I played Mario Kart and I ended up playing with a somewhat more average group of people. Usually there's a handful of really cutthroat racers, and I think this time they were just a bit cutthroat. So the Mario Kart luck ended up falling in my favor. I mean, I watched replays and took a look at them and realized, there were a lot of them that were clearly newer to the game, probably joining with their friends. Okay, so the flower with the eye closed, the eye open. Anyways, yeah. So I got a lot more firsts than I was expecting. I didn't even upload all of them. There was one where I couldn't upload because I couldn't really get the replay to include the most exciting part, which explained how I pulled in the first. But, alright, so this is a 3-disc set. Ooh. Now that's a very interesting design, where, like I said with the Blu-ray version, closed and opened. And so the first and last disc of this one are closed and open, but the second one is opening. And then I've got a Sasami-san Ganbaranai. I don't know what to think about this. Japanese with English subtitles. I wonder if this is what I'll actually put on next. Because with my plans for last night completely shot, Mario Karting was pretty much it. And then it took a long time to process the videos, because there were more than I would have expected. Usually, I'd be surprised if I got only one, or if I even got a first place, and that time I got 5. But, whatever. So I'm missing a little plastic there, but the nice thing is that I still get held in place. I don't know what to think about all of these. And so, next we got, or last I guess, we got Super Dimensional Century Orguss. This is another ImaginAsian release. It's supposed to be a complete collection. Oh, look at that. This would be 2 out of my 3 unicorns obtained, basically 3 ImaginAsian releases. I guess for comparison purposes, this is a 2-disc version. Well, I say version, but really a 2-disc purchase. See, this one needed the rest to be filled out. So, it looks like this is in really good shape. I guess if I'm going to take a peek at anything, it's just at the reflectiveness at the back here, and then I can just leave my eBay feedback as soon as I record this video. So, there we are. It's small this week, and that's why I didn't throw up a big fuss yesterday, because next week there's a ton of stuff scheduled to come out. and there's like a half of it has been ordered from Right Stuff, could ship any moment now. The other half from Amazon, and oh my god, it's just going to be a tremendously huge it's just going to be a tremendously huge week. Hopefully all of it will arrive in time for the update, and then it'll be a tremendously huge update. So, I've got my anime list open here because clearly I watched a lot of stuff. I think last week I talked about how I started watching anime. Oh yeah, Maoyu. That's what that bottom one is. And before I get into that, no, I guess I should just finish that because I did finish watching the anime. But I'm trying to remember what I said last time and what I thought this time. I mean, I kind of noted last time that I thought that the artwork, or maybe the character design, may have been very Sword Art Online-esque. Somebody said it was directed by maybe the same person. Or maybe they said that it was directed by the same person who did Spice and Wolf, which makes a lot of sense because Maoyu did a lot of detailed explanations of the concepts they were approaching. What I mean is, with Spice and Wolf, you know, there's a whole lot of economic playing going around. And I don't know if the original light novels went into that kind of detail, but my immediate guess would be that they did. Since novels in general tend to be able to go into more details in that regard, then I guess the visual mediums. But I don't know if that's really the case. I don't know if that's really the case for Maoyu, because I think I did compare Maoyu to Kyokara Mao in terms of a kind of a feel-good feeling of a character kind of doing the right thing. And I don't know what I think about the twist, but I definitely liked the way the anime just kept playing around with I don't know. I guess just the way the main characters played off is kind of amusing and interesting. There's a bit of the anime which seems like what would happen if somebody from the present with knowledge of all of these ideas and concepts which went back or into a medieval sort of setting. Because as the Crimson Scholar, the Demon King was suggesting a lot of ideas that are kind of common present day sorts of ideas, except for some of the farming ideas, I guess. But these were basically retrospective ways we could say, hey, if we could do this then, that would make things so much better. I kind of don't want to say what really made me think of that, because that's kind of something that comes in at the very end, and I don't think the series is continued from there, so I don't know. Overall, I thought it was an enjoyable series, and I thought while there was a bit of naivete involved in terms of people just trying hard to be good makes people be good, I don't think this was really too bad down that way. It's trying to do it while still needing to struggle because there are other forces at work in the worlds. But putting that aside, non-anime, although kind of anime related, I did watch the second season of The Legend of Korra. That would be, I guess it's not the second season, maybe it is, I don't know. Because I've heard that maybe it's supposed to be 4 books, which are 2 seasons or something. I don't know. But nevertheless, I watched book 2, Spirits, and I have to say, I can continue watching it, but I'm a bit disappointed. Maybe I'm a bit spoiled by anime, but I kind of feel like Legend of Korra has gone crazy with the coming up with good ideas and is really neglecting in the storytelling front. Where, what I mean by that is it doesn't seem to be giving us a good hook to kind of be interested in what's going. The first season of Avatar: The Last Airbender began with the Fire Nation invaded everybody, and you're like, okay, and so they're continuing to be bad guys, so I'm kind of curious if this will be one of those shows where something happens there. And then the first season proceeds a little bit, and you're kind of like, this is going to some pretty dark places. These aren't the sorts of things that suggest that there's no story involved. And the second season, of course, of Avatar: The Last Airbender just blew things out of the water and just started rushing towards, oh, yeah, okay. So there's definitely going to be a, well, I guess they probably figured some stuff out in the first season, and the second season they started just coming up with brilliant ideas. And with this second season of Legend of Korra, there is something that happens at the very beginning, but kind of leads down a similar narrative problem that the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, went down in terms of, alright, let's play politics, I guess. So like I said, it came up with a lot of interesting ideas, but it's just like, it didn't feel like there was a whole lot at stake until they finally gave us a reason for us to feel like there was a whole lot at stake, and then they just kind of threw all this information at us at once. And I guess I'm also disappointed that they haven't introduced sound bending as an advanced form of airbending or something like that. But that one I can let slide. I can think of other problems, but those begin to talk about just the things that are very spoilerific. So there you go. I watched it. It had interesting ideas, some neat action and stuff, but very low likelihood that I would ever rewatch it. Well, not ever rewatch it. I mean, there's always a chance of rewatching it. Just very low chance of me rewatching it because it would feel good. Like it would excite me or something. Unless, of course, the next one or two books change things, I guess. I don't know. That's a lot of stuff about something that's kind of anime related, but I guess it's kind of interesting because I talk about being spoiled by anime because if there's one thing bad anime tend to be good at, they tend to be really good at having a good hook in the very first episode to get you interested in watching more. But then it turns out that the only awesome stuff that happens are in the first and last episode. Everything in between is just bullshit. I mean, that's like so common in anime that I'm not even quite sure I could single anything out for doing that. But let's talk about anime. So I watched Ringing Bell, which is done by the same people who did Unico, which I'm not a big fan of the first Unico movie, but I am a big fan of the second one. And I have to say that I thought that Ringing Bell was kind of closer to the second one in terms of how much I like it. It's definitely one of those things where I could see somebody watching that and having tremendous nostalgia value. I mean, it has a lot of little things that will get into your ears. I mean, it's got the same sorts of sound effects that Unico has. And that's always been something about Unico that kind of triggers me into, oh yeah, I'm watching Unico. But a lot of the music is very reminiscent of cartoons from the 80s, I guess. Or animated movies in general. I'm thinking things that are earwormish and you probably couldn't help. It's sort of like, and maybe I've got the decade wrong. It's sort of like the old Rankin Bass cartoons. In particular, I'm thinking of The Hobbit and Return of the King. You know, where there's a whip, there is a way. I mean, I can't get that fucking song out of my head ever. I mean, I hum it to myself all the time, but it's been like imprinted in my mind. And Ringing Bell kind of sounds like music along those lines. It's something that would leave an imprint if you had room for being imprinted. So it's definitely very good for a first movie in that sort of idea. I mean, it's dark, so not sure. No. I mean, this is one thing where I think lately we've been worried about what kind of scary things we show to our kids, and I think we kind of forget we had very bad fairy tales, things about people being captured and cooked alive or whatnot, and we had cautionary tales, and I bring this up because Ringing Bell, I feel like isn't a very good story, as in it doesn't really leave you in a way where you feel like you watched a complete story. Instead, it's more like a really neat cautionary tale. And so it would fit right in with old fairy tales that you would tell your kids to make sure they stay in line and don't do bad things. Except this one's about the lamb with a bell, and overall it was quite nice. I actually appreciated watching that one. Ooh, and the next thing I watched, I also appreciated watching it, and that would be a certain Scientific Railgun S, which is the second season, and technically this was just the first part. And I'm trying to think what is the appropriate way. I mean, the appropriate way to talk about this is kind of hard to say, because it kind of covers material that was covered in a certain magical index, but the entire season is about that material, whereas only a portion of Index was about it. But I have to say that even though there's tremendous overlap there, Scientific Railgun S is spectacular in terms of... I'm trying to think if it's appropriate to talk too much about this, but I guess it's mostly about stuff that Railgun... stuff you saw involving Railgun in Index. Sorry, if you're not familiar with the series, I'm guessing this is confusing because the series called Railgun has a character in it whose nickname is Railgun, whereas the series called Magical Index has a character in it named Index, and I don't know that that's a nickname. So when I say the parts of Railgun that were in Index, I'm referring to when the character named Railgun was involved in a main story arc in a certain magical index. We're basically seeing the events that happened there, but more from her perspective, and it's psychologically delicious. As in, you got a little insight in the Index series, but in the Railgun series, it's really giving you a perspective of the character, I guess. And I'm only halfway through it, so I'm looking forward to the second half. And I guess I can't really talk about what I would really want to talk about, because I think that is very spoilerific, but... yeah, I guess I can't talk about that. So after that, I watched Codebreaker. And I was kind of hoping that one would be good. I didn't look up much information about that, and it's pretty weak. And I think the problem basically comes down to... I guess it just didn't give me something to really focus on. It felt like one of those ones where it started setting up this girl as an important character, and maybe she's supposed to be important in a future story if there's more Codebreaker that comes out, because I get the impression it's based on a manga. But at the same time, the anime seems to be contradicting everything she believes 100%, and she's not changing in a way that is relevant to reflecting reality, and it's not making characters who are used to the reality. This is one of those things where she thinks, oh, you shouldn't kill anybody, period. And these people are like, we live in a world where we have to kill people, period. And nobody changes. And so basically you got people with powers and things just happen. And supposedly she's maybe special, but they didn't really want to give us a reason to really think that. And the truth of the matter is, watching it, I just felt conflicted. Like there's these good ideas there, but poor execution. I was kind of hoping, looking at it, that it would be more like Psychopaths, I guess, sort of. Because it kind of felt like it was color designed the same way by Funimation. But instead I was quite surprised, because I talk about this stuff and I should mention, this seems like something that usually Viz grabs. This is a very shonen-esque series, except for the fact that she seems to be an important character, and so there's almost the beginning of a setup of a reverse harem, which is really just a harem, except
with a single female serviced by a bunch of males, as opposed to the more common other direction. But it didn't even really do anything in that regard. I mean, Fruits Basket and Kami-sama Kiss were kind of, much better ideas along those lines. So, that's why I'm saying Codebreaker was... It wasn't very exciting. It was missing something. And I'm not sure if I've explained that. Let's see. After that, I watched Nekomonogatari White, which would be the first story arc in Monogatari's second season. And I think it was still good. It's still great. I mean, I think a lot of people think that about the Monogatari stuff, where it's maybe the first season is kind of not quite got its hold on you, but after that you watch Nisei Monogatari, Nekomonogatari, and Nekomonogatari, and all that stuff, and it's clever. It's got some interesting dialogue, thoughts, and ideas, and the only disappointing thing is I only have the Tsubasa Tiger story arc. Oh well. Well, I'm looking forward to the next story arc, which I think is about Hachikuchi. Assuming I'm pronouncing or remembering it right. And after that, I watched Date Alive. That's the last thing I finished. I intended to finish it yesterday before recording the video, but, didn't have any DVDs for videos. So, I didn't watch anything after Date Alive. But I think that was a good way to end it. That one's actually a good series. It's kind of reminiscent of The World God Only Knows, although kind of with a bit more of a mixture of your standard harem. So it's not going to blow your mind, but at the same time, it's the kind of series that sets up a pattern, but it doesn't let that restrain itself. So it doesn't fall into its own cliches that it defines for itself, and that keeps it interesting. And I think a lot of the characters are crazy, but fair in their own weird ways. And this is something worth mentioning because, as y'all might know, sometimes with a lot of harem animes especially, there's this tendency for the anime itself to say, it's really funny to beat males up, and I don't really agree with that. And with this one, I think it's pretty much limited to specific character traits. So that means that when you have a situation where a girl walks in on the guy and another girl's holding his hand, instead of being an idiot and just attacking the guy, she evaluates the situation as it really is and tells the girl to let go of his hand. Which is what other anime should be doing, because that's what a lot of people observing the situation should be doing, at least in my opinion. Maybe I'm naive and hopeful myself. But overall, I'm not saying it blew my mind, but I am saying that it was actually quite fun to watch. And I guess I did watch the OVA, and I'm trying to remember exactly what happened in it, but I have to say, for one-off anime OVAs, that was probably one of the most spectacular I've seen. I mean, I'm not talking about, I'm mixing up my phrases a bit. I don't mean spectacular as in compared on its own to a bunch of other stuff, it's spectacular. It's not Evangelion 2.22. Oh my god, that was so awesome I couldn't even feel how awesome it was. I was just completely burned out. No, this is more like, it's maybe even better than any episode from the series itself, or at least in my opinion. It's a really clever series, I think, and this is the first half of it. There's a second series, I think that's out. It's 10 episodes or something, and OVAs or something after that. And so I'm looking forward to those eventually coming out. I'm pretty sure Funimation was saying that they have it because they have an advertisement for the second season on the first season Blu-rays. So I'm going to be looking forward to that. Other than that, like I said, I think I'm probably going to watch Sasami-san Ganbaranai next. And hopefully that will be good because I'm gonna go into that one blind. Outside of that, like I said, next week there's supposed to be a lot of releases. Oh, for things worth mentioning, there's also worth mentioning that I did not know this, but for the Toradora Premium Edition that came out last week, or was it the week before? Well, it came out previously, obviously, and I've been catching up on getting backups of my anime DVDs onto my personal DVD server so that I can access any of the content I want. And I was noticing for this one, there's an OVA episode on here that wasn't on the original premium releases that I've got. And I fired those up just to make sure, although I didn't pull them out and throw the Blu-rays in and see if the Blu-rays were different. But I didn't even know that. I knew this one had the new dub, but I just didn't know they had an OVA episode that hadn't been released before. So I thought I would mention that here because maybe somebody's interested. If anybody watching this is interested, feel free to comment if you want to know what the name of the OVA is. I think it shows up as special on myanimelist.net. Not my personal anime list, but I don't remember what it's called, and I haven't watched it yet. I think there's a part of me that will watch it when I next rewatch Toradora, and that will probably still be subtitled, but that'll happen. So, noteworthy stuff. I think that covers all the noteworthy stuff, and like I said, next week, hopefully, a lot of anime DVDs show up because there's a lot of stuff coming out. Other than that, y'all have a nice week.